Hey, y'all. Welcome to the WDW Reflections Podcast, your unofficial guide through Walt Disney World memories and their connections to the parks that we know and love today. I am Dewey, one of the hosts of the show, and I'm coming to you from my home in Delaware, where it's finally starting to warm up. It was in the 70s yesterday, so I'm starting to come out of my winter hibernation, y'all. So goodness gracious, seems like it's been winter for 9 months. Anyway, we're back for another episode of the WDW Reflections Podcast. Before we get into this episode's main topic, we'd like to invite y'all to connect with us through the show's social media accounts and maybe have the opportunity to become involved as a contributor to future shows. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at WDW Reflections Podcast and on Twitter at WDW Reflections. And don't forget, for all things WDW Reflections Podcast, head on over to our website at wdwreflectionspodcast.com. All right, with that out of the way, let's get started with the show. With me today are my podcast travel buddies, Ron and Jen, because they've got some... Nope, Tony and Jen, sorry. I was going to say Ron because Ron's not with us. We're unfortunately not going to have Ron with us today. He's feeling under the weather, so... Jen,
and also, unfortunately, Ron is going to be away on a special mission that I'm sure he'll tell us about when he gets back.
He's going to be out of the country for a few weeks, so we're going to be sans Ron for about a month, I guess. So I completely messed that up. I had Ron on my brain because we were going to talk about him not being here. So who is here with me is my friends Tony and Jen. There we go. I got it. Third time's a charm or something. So, all right. So come to us from the Big Apple. Tony and Jen, how y'all doing?
We're doing pretty good, Dewey. And just to reintroduce one more time to the audience, I didn't get a chance last time because we kind of did it in the pre-show. This is my wife, Jen, and she's a huge Disney fan. She used to be on the Disney boards way back when. And if you were listening last week, you heard that I was planning some kind of Disney thing going on. So that's the theme of today's show. We're going to let you know what we planned and what we did.
The Disney thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it was a bit of a cliffhanger because I remember it was sort of at the beginning of the show. It was the show we recorded about my trip down to Florida for my daughter's chorus competition. And you slipped in like this giant news. Oh, hey, by the way, we're planning something, some kind of Disney something. I'll tell you later. And then we got involved in the show and, you know.
Yeah, I never got to tell you.
And we never came back around to it. So, so we've been waiting all this time, Tony, this giant cliffhanger. So I guess I'll kind of introduce it and then I'll let you guys take over. So this week, it's another big week for us on the show. After nearly 2 years of recording this podcast, none of us had traveled to any of the Disney parks. So, you know, since before the pandemic. Now, in the space of about a month, I went with my family down to Walt Disney World back in April. And then just last week, Tony and Jen, something happened. You guys did something or went somewhere. So fill us in. What was the big happenings over there?
We did. We actually made our way all the way to the original Happiest Place on Earth, down to Anaheim, California, or out to the original Disneyland Resort theme park.
Yeah.
So that's big news because I know that you guys, very much like me, haven't traveled anywhere since before the pandemic.
The past 4 years. Yeah. We haven't even been to a restaurant in 4 years. So
I know we do takeout all the time, up to the window and stuff. So I completely get that. So you guys, and Tony, before we started recording, you kind of filled me in, but this was like a spur of the moment thing, right? It's not like you've been planning a trip for the last 6 months, right?
No, it was less than a month, I think, actually.
Yeah. And I mean, it was something we wanted to do for the past few years, but we kind of put it on the back burner, especially with everything going on. And as soon as she mentioned it, it just was actually to use a bad pun, harmonious moment because it just happened to work out perfectly with what was going on with us at work and stuff. So we were able to go during this time and be able to plan this within a couple of weeks and get to experience our first Disney park, other than a trip to Galaxy's Edge in 2020, our first Disney parks experience in 10 years, actually almost 10 years to the day that we were there.
Holy smokes.
We were there on May 11th of 2013. So yeah, that was 10 years ago. So since the last time we've been to a Magic Kingdom.
That seems crazy. I mean, to think about that, it's been that long. Wow.
So you might as well tell them how long it's been since we went to Disneyland.
Well, yeah, I was just about to say that.
Horrifying me with numbers here.
She's always horrified by the numbers I throw at her. But it turned out when she mentioned to me that she wanted to go to Disneyland, once we realized that we had this opportunity to do it, we realized the last time that she and I were there was in 2004, which was nearly 20 years ago. Next year is going to be 20 years.
So 2004, that's pre-California Adventure, right?
No, California Adventure was there.
It was there. Okay.
It was there.
But not the new thing.
But not Cars Land, not Marvel Campus.
Right. And
because I'll be honest, I know a lot about Disney World. I know almost nothing about Disneyland. I think it's in California. That's about how much I know.
Well, believe me or not, I learned a few things. I mean, I've been there. This was, I think, my 5th time there. And this is 3rd time there, I think. And it was, I learned a few things that I never realized before in terms of especially how, and I know a lot of our audience, just like we have never been there, have never traveled there, don't know much about that area because this is a WDW based show. But I had no idea how many Walt Disney World things would also be found in Disneyland. So that's what we are going to kind of focus on today once we move into it.
Yeah. Well, the biggest. Oh, sorry, dude. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so yeah, we want to hear about your trip, but then we're going to qualify it by being on a WDW show because we're going to talk about some of the connections. But it's our show. I don't care about the rules. We make up the rules. We do what we want. So go ahead, Jen. You guys jump right in.
Well, what I was going to say is one of the biggest lies you hear about Disneyland, if you happen to be a Disney fan, is that it's tiny and you can do the park in one day and rubbish like that, which is not true. In fact, we were listing the rides last night and Tony's mind was just going because I'm like, oh, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and this. We were there. We had a 5-day ticket and we did get to do like 3 of our favorites more than once, but that was about it. Like it took us that long to do all of the rides, and we still didn't get to do Toy Story Midway Mania because we have that in Florida and it was too hard to get on. And Peter Pan is just as impossible in California as it is in Florida. So we never got to do that one either.
And I'll never understand that until, as long as I live. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun ride, but 2 hour wait for that thing. I've never understood.
Yeah,
but
it is psychotic.
So you had 5-day park tickets.
Yes.
You spent all 5 days in the parks?
Yes, we did. And they were hopper tickets and we did a lot of hopping as well.
Okay.
Because the way California is laid out, unlike Florida where you have a park here, bunch of highway, park here, bunch of highway, park here. With California, there's the gates that you see, that's the entrance to Disneyland. You see them in the Walt specials and everything. If you just turn and face the other way, you see the gates to Disney's California Adventure.
You just walk across the pathway.
It's like walking across a street, only it's not a street.
So it's just like, not to talk about the other park, but Universal in Florida, you've got Islands of Adventure right beside the Universal Studios Park. So basically just like that. Okay. And, a lot of our listeners probably know all this and it sounds, pretty simple, but I've never been there. So this is, good information for folks that haven't been before. Like me.
If you've seen an overview from Walt's days at California and you've seen that huge parking lot, that's where DCA is.
So I'll tell you that, 20 years ago when I was going to the parks, I was a rope drop till, end of day kind of guy, waiting for the monorail at the end of the day. And 15-hour days. As I've gotten older, I find that I'm not built for that very much anymore. So what were your days like? Were you guys like all parked the whole time? Did you take breaks? What were y'all
It
Or
was
maybe a little bit
exhausting.
above?
It was
Yeah.
totally exhausting. And again, like you were saying, it's because we've gotten older.
Oh, it's 11 miles a day. You should be
Yeah.
somebody else walking 11
I know,
miles a
it's
day.
11 miles. But the thing is
Yeah, it's a
that
lot.
it was a lot. But the thing is that as we've gotten older, it's gotten harder. Because I remember 20 years ago when we went, we just took our time. It was not as crowded, I guess, because it wasn't quite as popular as it is today.
So we stayed at Pixar Pier, which was the on-site. And the way, again, like I said, there's the Disneyland gate and the Disney California Adventure gate, and they're across the street from each other. And that street turns into the downtown Disney Strip. And then at the end of the downtown Disney Strip is the Disneyland Hotel and the Paradise Pier Hotel.
And so we were able to just walk. And once you go through security at the hotel, we were just walked right in.
Right. They do the security at downtown Disney rather than at the actual park entrances.
Mhm.
So as soon as you set foot in downtown Disney, you go through the metal detector.
And do they have the big fancy airport metal detectors that you just walk through? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. I just had those for the first time when I went in April, and I was very impressed by those. You just walk right through and boom, you're in. So they have it all blocked off. So once you go through that, then you're good to go to either of the parks or to downtown Disney. You're
right
in their security
bubble
perimeter. Okay.
Yes.
Bubble,
yeah,
like
which is great for park guests and great for park hopping, because you just, you park hop like you did before the security nonsense.
Yeah, yeah.
But it must be annoying for the locals if they just want to go to the Lego store.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll tell you that when I just went in April, even though obviously Disney World's not like Disneyland in space, you have to go through security just to get through to get into Disney Springs now too.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yes, they have security stationed at the because they have the big parking decks now at Disney Springs. So it's the same thing. You have to go through security just to get into Disney Springs. So so it makes sense that Disneyland is the same way.
Yeah.
The one good thing about security there, though, is that they see everything, because you get all sorts of fans come dressed as whatever and coming with their, weirdo backpacks that have all kinds of weird stuff. So I had one that had the Resistance logo on it, and the guard made some funny jokes regarding it. So they made you feel at ease about being a geek there. They don't really care because there's so many people.
The park guests are much more dressed up than they are in Florida. Both in Disney and Star Wars stuff, and also a lot of the emo goth people,
as well as
really?
Oswald everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the weather probably helps with that too. Sometimes it's too hot to dress up in Disney World.
That's probably true, because the weather that we had was cold. It was way cold. Thankfully, we had been watching a bunch of different streams before we went out there. We watched a lot of live stream and kept saying, why are they still wearing jackets? And literally to the day before that we left, they were still in coats. So we said, okay, we better bring our jackets just in case. And thank goodness we did. I mean, you can probably tell in our voices, we have a little bit of a cold, likely from wearing ourselves down, but possibly because the weather was so cold out there. I mean, we only had one day that we can go swimming. That was 75 degrees was the warmest it got. And so it was but
it was like, when you stay for the fireworks late at night at Walt Disney World and all of a sudden it drops 40 degrees. It was like that in California every morning and every night at about 5:36 p.m.
Yeah.
So like you didn't need to be out until 11:30 midnight to like turn into a popsicle. It just, you couldn't avoid it.
Wow. So is that normal for Southern California that it's chilly in May?
I think they're having a weird year.
Okay.
A couple people said that this weather was weird.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I've been to California in my military travels. I spent 2 weeks in Vacaville, which is just north of San Francisco, which San Francisco is always cold, but California, to me, you think it's warm. So especially Southern California. But so that I was wondering if that was normal or not. So that's interesting. Okay. So lots of jackets and sweatshirts. Okay.
Yes.
But then in the middle of the day,
it would get hot.
Back to t-shirt, I would open this. I had a t-shirt that was there. So it was weird weather, and I think that's partially why we came back with the Disney cold.
Right. So getting back to the crowds and our schedule, because we were staying at the Disney Hotel, as with Florida, they have like magic hours, early entry, that kind of thing. And what they have is every day, both parks open a half hour early for hotel guests only.
Okay.
So, but also like with Florida, only certain parts of the parks open, not the whole thing, which we didn't know at first.
Which doesn't really make much sense. I mean, they're letting you in early,
and it's a half hour, so the staff is already there. So why they do that, I don't know.
But the big rides are the ones that you would think should be open early so that we can get early access to them, and those are the ones that were not, like Rise of the Resistance.
All that
Cars Land
was Fantasyland and Tomorrowland.
Right.
So
that's
no
the only
Adventureland
things that were open. Okay.
Yeah. So no Adventureland and no Galaxy's Edge.
Wow, that's surprising because you figure Galaxy's Edge is probably one of the biggest draws.
Exactly. Yeah. And no Frontierland either. I mean, as long as we're naming. Or Toontown wasn't either, right?
Toontown, parts of Toontown were, but we weren't able to get to the new ride until
I don't remember how that one went. But the other thing is every single ride kept breaking down.
Yeah.
Like you expect with the new rides that happens, but new rides, old rides, like any time of day you want to pick, at least 2 or more rides were down.
Well, we should explain first. They rely, I don't know, it's been a while since I've been to Disneyland, obviously, of Disney World, I mean, but we rely completely on the app now, where it tells you, all right, this ride's got 10-minute wait, this one's got 40-minute wait, this one. So you're constantly checking the app to see how that's going. And you'd see it says temporarily closed. Indiana Jones temporarily closed. This one temporarily closed.
This is temporary closed.
Right, and
Mickey's and Minnie's temporary closed.
Roger
Rabbit temporary.
One day we got there extremely early to do something, and was it Cars Land?
Cars Land is closed.
We got there early that day specifically for that. We made our way all the way up to Radiator Springs just to find out that the ride was down, and it was going to be down for a couple of hours.
Yeah, and what's worse is the half hour that you get to yourself is terrific. It's like when they first started it in Florida, because I know now in Florida the early entry magic, whatever they call it, could be very crowded. But in California, you could do whatever you wanted. You could like nice walk on. It was very
okay. That's cool.
Yeah, except Peter Pan, right?
Peter Pan.
So but I bet that half hour goes by really fast.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But we did get a lot done that first day. Yeah.
You could do about 2 or 3 rides in that half hour. Which
that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And what's scary is, so you're there in the hub, because as I said, you have Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, which are in the same places in California as they are in Florida. And you're at the hub, you want to get over to Adventureland or Galaxy's Edge. So you're walking by the partner statue and you look, and from Casey's hot dog place all the way back to the train station, it's packed.
Like looks like racers are ready at the mark to go. And as soon as ladies and gentlemen, Disneyland is officially open or whatever, suddenly it becomes madhouse. And we actually got a point. We were trying to get to Rise that day, or was it Indy? I don't remember.
We tried to get to Indy, but Indy was down, so then we tried to get to Rise, but the line for Rise was through the park.
Right,
actually.
because what happened was, the way they sectioned it off, we had the whole space to ourselves, and everybody's standing behind the line here. So we walked right up to the line for Adventureland. We were the first people there to be able to be let in. And even though we were first in, as we walked in, the throngs just went running. Everybody went running to whatever they had to do. Even though they tell them not to run, they do it.
Yeah, it's actually the annual pass people who do the running.
Right. Yeah, which is crazy because they can do it.
Yeah.
So you're saying that when they open for the half hour early, they let everybody into the park, but they have to stay in. They can't go through the hub yet. They have to stay there.
Right, they have to stay on Main Street. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's absolutely.
It was a little bit embarrassing because we were the first 2 people standing there in line in front of Adventureland, and we're seeing this throng of thousands of people standing there waiting to beat us in.
Yeah, it's surreal. Yeah. So what we had to do was we had to keep getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning,
which we didn't intend to.
We didn't intend to. We had to keep getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning every day so that we could be there for early entry at 7:30. Because
oh wow, so normal opening is 8 for
8.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
So it's because the Disney World doesn't open that early.
Yeah,
so.
I thought that was early too, but yeah,
Yeah,
it was
okay.
8 every day while we were there.
And
Both
did you guys
parks.
manage to do that? Did y'all get up?
Yes.
Every day.
You know, we had even by the end of the week, we were so exhausted that we said, okay, we're not going to do that tomorrow. And of course, we woke up at 5 in the morning. We're like, okay, let's go.
We'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. Because even though you could walk everywhere, you have to leave your hotel at 7 to get there, you know, for the 7:30. So you're still.
And speaking of which, to throw out a caveat for anybody who's planning to do this, if you do stay at the hotel and you plan to take advantage of the early entry, you should be advised that so is everybody else at the hotel, and you still have to go through security. So, you know, even though you might be thinking, okay, I'll get down there at 7:30 and walk through. You're not, because you have to stand in line with everybody else.
Yeah, the line forms at 7.
Okay, awesome. So wow, that's really early. I think Disney World is 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it used
9,
to be.
So yeah.
Yeah, it was completely confused. I couldn't believe so many people were doing the early entry thing, and then at 8 o'clock on the dot, 5 million people come in.
Yeah.
So you've got to.
Wow.
But we
and
did.
So how many hotels? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say we did go back to the hotel to rest midday about half of the time we were there.
Actually, once after the first day, I think we said, okay, from this point, we're just going to do the morning, go back, rest for a bit, and then go back at night.
Yeah, and we never made it past 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Like we were like, night.
So day one, you were there early and then didn't break. You stayed all the way until about 8 that night.
8, exactly.
Right.
Actually, ironically, I had no idea when we booked this. They are celebrating Star Wars month out there, this entire month of May. And so part of that celebration included a couple of ticketed events that were sold out that called Star Wars Night, and they were on certain nights of that week. So that night, the park was closing at 8 because there was an event going on. So everybody had to go on. If you wanted to be there for Star Wars Night, you had to have a ticket. And that's the reason we came back. And what we did was we came back and then put on someone's live stream to see the fireworks on the live stream, and we could hear them out the window, but we could
hear the bang bang.
Watch them on the live stream.
So that
do they do like Disney World, those hotels that are around the like the lagoon and stuff? Do they put music in at the hotels?
No,
at
least not that we know of.
Not that we know of. The Paradise Pier Hotel is actually under construction because it's being transformed into the Pixar Pier. So a lot of the amenities in there are down. In fact, the pool was not even there. They allowed us to use the pool at the Disneyland Hotel.
Right. Yeah, the restaurants were closed. All that was open was the grab and go part. Gotcha. And they didn't put anything more in the grab and go part to make up for the fact that that's all there was.
However, the stay there was really nice. The staff there was really nice, and the room was very comfortable. I mean, it just even though it was under construction. In fact, through our window, we could see they were building a new slide for the pool.
Yeah,
but it was really comfortable stay, so we had no complaints about that.
Yeah, but we were allowed to use the pool at the Disneyland Hotel.
Yeah.
And the restaurants there. I mean, not that you're ever not allowed to, but our hotel room key opened the gates to the Disneyland Hotel.
Oh, wow.
Which was really cool.
And you were asking about how many. They actually have 3 resort hotels there. Paradise Pier, which would be I won't say economy, but the less expensive of them.
and then, what's Disney's? It's value.
That's the value one.
If you want to call it value, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to call it that, because with the construction, they didn't give us any discount in the price. But as I had said earlier, it would have cost us the same price to stay off property. So,
well, you know, Disney has different definitions for some of their words. Value means something different to them than it does to me.
Yeah. Yeah. The Paradise Pier one is the value resort, and the Grand Californian is the deluxe resort. But it basically looks like if Animal Kingdom Lodge and the Wilderness Lodge had a baby
together. Absolutely, yeah, same kind of designs. We actually stayed there when we went there 20 years ago.
Yeah, because we were
got
able
a
to
deal.
afford it then.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a
know,
brand new
before
It
hotel.
was brand new. Nobody knew about it. Yeah, exactly.
And it was before it was for like $1,000 a night,
Mhm.
you know?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And then there's the Disneyland Hotel, which is also a deluxe hotel because you can't call that a moderate. That is also very expensive, and they're building a new DVC tower for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of like contemporary, I guess, in a way.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. So it's like they have 2 deluxe hotels that, just keep dreaming, and then one that you can actually stay at.
All right. So how do y'all want to do this? Do y'all want to just kind of take us day by day of your trip report, or do you you guys go and I'll follow, just whatever, however y'all want to do it?
I was thinking instead of day by day, maybe we can talk about the rides that are there that are also in Walt Disney World, or if you want to know about the rides that are not in Walt Disney World, we can do either one of those.
So one thing that I was wondering, I don't know the date. Is Splash Mountain still open in Disneyland?
We got to go on it.
Yeah, we got
so jealous. I thought that it hadn't closed yet, so I was going to ask. I'm so jealous. So
it's actually closing May 31st out there.
May 31st. So that's cool. So you got to do Splash Mountain one last time. Lucky.
And speaking of mountains, other than Splash Mountain, Jen's never been on any other Disney mountain in all the trips that we've ever made to Disney. And when we got there, as I mentioned, there's a Star Wars thing going on. They had Hyperspace Mountain over at Space Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to do that. And she actually came with me on it. She was terrified. But the good thing about that Space Mountain is that you see it side by side. So it's not quite as scary as going on by yourself. And it was just amazing. I mean, just the Imagineering behind somehow you're on this track, but a Star Destroyer appears above you or TIE fighters come at you. I don't know how they did that, but it was pretty amazing. And that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
She had her eyes closed the whole time.
And was cowering in fear. This was me on the ride.
That just cracks me up because Space Mountain goes like 28 miles per hour. Like you can almost run that fast,
Well, she also liked the next one that she tried was the Big Thunder Mountain, and she liked that one enough to go on again.
Yeah, that one was
okay.
Cool.
But we would have loved to have done the Matterhorn, but that's been closed for.
It was on a refurb schedule, so couldn't.
I hear that one's really rough, so maybe they're working to make that smoother.
Yeah, I've been on it before. I couldn't believe how fast that was. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! What is with this thing?
That's awesome. All right, so what are some of the attractions you wanted to touch on? Some of the highlights or comparisons to Disney World or something like that?
Well, when you walk through, actually, I was thinking about this last night. I didn't put this on my list, Dewey, but they still have one of Walt's original concepts more than attraction, and that would be Abraham Lincoln's speech. That was as you guys are more the historian than I am, but you'd be able to explain that was one of Disney's first audio animatronics at the 1964 World's Fair, and
it was definitely the first human.
The first human one.
They did birds and stuff.
So. Yeah, he had done the birds already.
And the show itself has been refreshed. And what they did, Dewey, you might appreciate this, is that they incorporated things. It was really weird because at times I didn't know where I was. I kept saying to her, "Are we in Florida?" They incorporated things from the American Adventure into it. So right before Lincoln comes out and speaks, they show this little film, and in it they have the Two Brothers song in entirety, the whole clip. And as he comes up and they do the America song as we head out, Golden Dream. So that part was very, very familiar. There were a lot of things about this that felt so familiar about it. But yeah, we Abraham Lincoln is one of them. Great moments with Mr. Lincoln. We were afraid we were going to miss that because again, that was another one that kept saying it was temporarily closed. And we walked up to it and the guy says, "Oh, try again later, maybe." And you know what's interesting is the crowd out there seems very easygoing. They don't seem to, we'll just wait on a 10-hour line. It doesn't matter. Or the ride's closed. We'll just go wait 3 more hours on that one. It's not a big deal to them for some reason. It's an interesting audience perspective there. And I understand that it is a lot more locals. And in fact, I've been there before where I literally heard someone at 8 p.m. on the phone going, "Hey, we're at Disneyland. You want to come?" And I mean, for us that sounds weird, but lots of people hang out there. But that's one of them. Of course, we discussed, Dewey, on the show the adventures of Mr. Toad, how that was once a Disney World ride and got taken away. However, it's still there at Disneyland, and it's still very popular. We had to wait online for about maybe 15 minutes, I think, the day that we went, but it kept getting progressively longer. It was really weird to see which rides would suddenly get like 50 minutes waits out of nowhere. And then, like you'd see a 100-minute wait for Winnie the Pooh, and suddenly Rise of the Resistance is 40 or Millennium Falcon is 15. You're like, okay, what's going on there? What's happening then?
It's weird. And the times don't go back down again. I don't know if they've started doing that in Florida too, because it used to be like at the end of the day, the times would go down and you could just like walk on Jungle Cruise and walk on Jungle Cruise and walk, or Pirates or something like that. You cannot do that in California.
Yeah. And one thing that you noticed too, that even though we haven't been to Disney World, we've been watching lots of bloggers over the past few years. It seems that the wait times that Disneyland posts, I think, Dewey, you mentioned this when you went down Rise, the wait time isn't always exactly what they say it is.
Yes.
And it's usually kind of better. And in Disneyland, it was almost the opposite. If they said it was 20 minutes, we were there half an hour. It was kind of weird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they lie in the wrong direction.
The direction. But what was funny to me about Mr. Toad is if you guys watch the video of that we have on YouTube, I kind of pieced that together from some pictures that I had based on Dewey's description as he was talking. I would put these photos in and put some sound effects in. And as I was going through it, I was like reliving it. It was so weird because we got it almost exactly right. So, and there should be some kind of video. I did shoot video when I was in there, so hopefully I'll be able to post that. The Fantasyland is very different because they have Alice in Wonderland, which is one of your favorites. And the cool thing about
Alice, they've done a lot of refurbs on that. It's got like the projections on their faces, like the Frozen ride at Epcot now, right?
No, they've actually either they have the original figures with the black light stuff, or they have the screen with the projection. They haven't done the Seven Dwarf weirdness.
Okay, got yeah.
And the cool thing about that is that particular ride is it starts out as a dark ride, and then it goes into some kind of tunnel, and you wind up outside for a little bit of it, and it's kind of neat because you get to see the teacups on the side and the park on the side. That's another thing I'd like to say about this is that when you're there, you look at the size and the scope of this, and you wonder how Walt could have ever imagined that this whole big strip of land would be something that people would want to come to. It staggers the mind, because even those attractions like Alice, which has been there forever, and some of these other rides, it's just the scale of them is so immense that you wonder who would even think to do this. One of the other things, obviously, Indiana Jones, which was recently refurbished. We finally did get to go on that. We had to wait a while, but we did get on that, and that was fun and bumpier than I remembered.
Everything seemed bumpier.
Yeah, well, it could be age as well.
Is it as bumpy as Dinosaur? Because I know we've talked about that before. It's basically the same attraction.
It's supposed to be the exact same layout, actually.
Except that the the scenery that you see is pretty cool. We also, your other favorite, we actually got to go on the submarines because they still have them there, but there it's not what did you call it the other day? Something on strings.
Styrofoam fish on strings.
Right, fish on strings. Actually, they've improved since then. It's now the Finding Nemo subs. And what was cool about it, I actually, that's another one that I did film. What's cool about it is that the first part of it starts out like a real undersea adventure, and then somehow you find yourself in the Finding Nemo world, and it was pretty believable, right? That they were floating around in there.
It's very well done.
Yeah.
Is it projections like they do at the Seas with Nemo at Epcot?
No, it's like at the Seas with Nemo in that they're physically there. So I'm not sure how they do it because it still looks like they're underwater.
Right.
So I'm
Okay.
not sure how they did that. It was kind of weird. But what was nice about it is, well, I mean, a lot of things were nice about it. But what I'm saying is that at the end of it, the dialogue between the submarine captain and the first mate, or whatever you call them, who are, the pre-recorded stuff, says something like, should I put in the log book about what just happened? And the other guy goes, no, no one would ever believe it. And that's the dialogue from the original 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Another weird thing that I found was that there were rides there that I had no idea they also existed in that side of the park. And that would be when we got to California Adventure, since it's been refurbished. There was things like what's it called? The Mickey PhilharMagic. Mickey's PhilharMagic was there, which was staggering to me. They improved the print of it. It looked fantastic. The 3D looked great. They included a scene from Coco. At one point, we thought they took out the Aladdin.
Yeah, I was starting to get worried because I thought they took out the Peter Pan and Aladdin part, but they didn't. They just put the new scene before it.
Okay.
But it looked great, and it actually was that the one that took place inside the Muppet Theater?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where they used to have Muppet 3D vision there, and they took it out and they replaced it with this.
Oh, okay.
So the theater looked just like the one in Florida. In fact, I was waiting for Statler and Waldorf to come out on the side there. But California Adventure obviously had new things since we were last there. The Cars ride, which took us a while to be able to do. That was pretty intense. And actually, we had to get a lightning lane to do that one. No pun intended.
Individual lightning.
Yeah, we tried all week to get there, and it kept being out. So eventually we said, we're all the way in California. We don't know when we're going to do this one again. Let's just do the lightning lane for this one. And so we did. It was what, $17 or $18?
Yeah, per person.
But
what a bargain.
Yeah, right.
No.
But that one was not bad. That was and actually when our lightning lane came up, we get there and they're like, oh, we're not taking lightning lanes right now because the ride's down.
It was a night.
We had to wait.
Sorry about your $17.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Wow.
So we had to wait a bit for that. Another thing that I'd forgotten that was there first was Soarin'. But the cool thing about Soarin' is they were doing recently, they had I guess it was a food and wine festival there.
Mm-hmm.
So as part of that, they brought over Soaring Over the World from Epcot. So we got to see finally Soaring Over the World. The last time we were at Epcot, it was still Soaring Over California. There was the river boat ride was awesome. That river and that area there is another immense place that you're like, Walt just tried to cover every basis in this park. I mean, there's something going on in every corner that you see. There's a boat here, there's canals here, there's a train there, there's a ferry or something here, there's a raft here, there's this. Everywhere you look, there's always constantly some kind of method of transportation going on, and that is really interesting to see, and you feel that genius behind his thinking. But
that's something I always notice. Like I said, obviously I've never been there, but I seen it on YouTube and stuff, that Disneyland is very kinetic. Like there's something is moving, like you don't even know where to look because there's something moving everywhere. It's all just, it's kinetic. That's just the only way I can think to describe it is just there's something moving and flashing or something all around you everywhere. And I don't feel that as so much at the Disney World parks.
At Magic Kingdom or the other.
Yeah.
It's good. I guess it's maybe a little bit more spread out, but still, I think that the thought process behind just thinking, putting this together is just amazing. I mean, there was one of the things that doesn't sound very exciting was Tom Sawyer's Island, but we wanted to check it out since we were there, and we took the raft over. And we got there, and it was like the most peaceful place on the planet. It was amazing. I mean, you've got the park across the river there, but the Tom Sawyer section of it with the old tree houses and the park area, it was literally a respite section. We could just, like, if you go there every day and you just want someplace to just be by yourself, go over there and just relax. It was really great. I really liked that.
Yeah, that was like his favorite thing.
Yeah, I like the quiet. There were obviously there was the monorail right next to. It's funny because you couldn't find the entrance. The monorail's right next to Autopia, which is right next to Nemo, which is right next to Buzz Lightyear. That's another one we didn't get to do much. No, I'm saying we didn't do much since Florida, and it's there now. And obviously another one we did, Star Tours, and over there at Star Tours, the adventures continue. We went on that, believe it or not, and not because of me. We went on that more than any of the others because the adventures, the varying adventures that were on it made it interesting each time that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of fun. And the wait time on that, just like in Florida, by the end of the day, it's like 15 minutes. So you can just go on, and if you want to go back on again, you go back on again. Moving on over to, speaking of Star Wars, over to Galaxy's Edge, just like in MGM Studios, once you walk through that area, I literally forgot that we were in Disney. I mean, we spent a couple of hours there. Especially, we forgot to mention that we had gotten the Magic Band Plus on our first day there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you can do with it is there's a bounty hunter game that you can play at Galaxy's Edge, and what you do is you hook it up to a door, and it tells you go find this bounty hunter, and you go searching around the park for where he's hiding behind a door, and then report back to the guy, and the guy comes out projected on a little windscreen. It was pretty cool. And so we got to do that, and we spent enough time in there that when we left there to go back out, I was like, I forgot we were even in Disneyland.
Yeah, it's a very weird juxtaposition when you leave Batuu and you're in the middle of a Disney park. It's very weird.
I feel that at the studios too. You can't hear Toy Story Land, which is right next door, to Galaxy's Edge. You don't hear any of that stuff. You're really just immersed.
Well, and speaking of immersion, I don't know if it was because it was Star Wars night, but there were so many people, or Star Wars week, whatever. Everybody was carrying lightsabers. Everybody was into character there. And we've said this previously, the characters in Disneyland kind of just roam freely. I mean, throughout the entire park, you'll just see Pluto just walking by. I mean, the handler is somewhere nearby, but not like in Disney World where he comes out with it. He's like several steps behind. So you'll just see one character walking by seemingly without anybody near them, which is kind of weird. But in Galaxy's Edge, we had a couple of new encounters there. I have some video of it. We encountered the Mandalorian with Grogu, right? And Boba Fett was there, and R2-D2 was there.
R2 is there.
That's cool.
So
and the funniest thing about R2-D2 was, I think it was either the next to last day or our last day that we went that morning, she was starting not to feel so good. So I wanted to go out and take some video and explore a little bit. So she said, okay, I'm just going to lie here. She found a quiet corner. She just lay on one of those
metal crate things.
Yeah, one of those crate things, and fell asleep. And
oh, wow.
Tell us what happened.
Well, I started hearing this droid beeping, and I'm like, that sounds like an R2 unit. And it's getting louder, and it's still there, and I'm like, what the? And I opened my little eyes, and there's R2 coming over to see me.
So R2 woke you up?
Yes.
He was checking to see if she was okay.
That's awesome.
It was pretty awesome. And another fun thing that we had, that we didn't get this in Florida either, because I don't know if for some reason, maybe because it was right before the pandemic, that they were told not to interact with people, or maybe they said mostly interact with the little kids, not with the adults yet. I don't know what the state was like in Florida, and I don't know if you had any of this when you went out there recently. But what was cool here is that since they're able to roam around freely, I was wearing that when we went back into the park that night to do the bounty hunter thing. One of the jackets I brought with me was like Poe's jacket, the thing with the red stripe here. And I decided I said, I'm going to dress Resistance tonight just to be fun. And I had my bag with me, and Jen is a supporter of the dark side, so she was wearing the
First Order.
There you go, her First Order hat. And we were doing this. We were scanning some crates to see if we could find this bounty hunter. And I happened to look back, and then suddenly I see Kylo Ren point that way, and the two troopers see me, and they walk over, and I say to Jen, "Uh-oh." And they came over, and they started harassing me for being a resistance supporter, and apologized to her for, being around a loser, essentially.
Excellent. Your enthusiasm for the dark side is reassuring.
Thank you. I love the First Order.
You champion a lost cause.
I know. I keep
That
trying.
must feel so hopeless.
Copy. Understood. I wouldn't. We apologize. Careful.
I've heard enough.
A resistance supporter. It's a little too late for that. Go on.
There's always hope.
Order has a place for
That's a negative.
Exactly.
Thanks for the help.
And
It was cool.
And I know that you do trooping professionally, and I've got to ask you, we're curious about this. One interesting thing that happened was when I saw him coming, I kind of panicked and I turned my camera off, and Kylo Ren started talking to us. So the trooper tapped me on the shoulder. He pushed my camera, and somehow was able to find. I was using my iPhone. Was able to find the button to hit record on my phone. Can you see clearly enough to do that in those things?
You can. So the two masks that I have is I have a Tuscan and I have a TIE Pilot, and you can see fine ahead of you, like straight ahead of you, but your peripheral vision is not very good, and you can't see down. So you have to be really careful with kids, because obviously I'm 6'2", so kids are a lot shorter than me. So before I walk, I kind of do this. I put my hand out in front of me. But if I'm going to look down, I have to, really dramatically tilt my head almost straight down, because you can only see directly in front of you. And my Tuscan is there's just mesh over, so because the 501st doesn't want anybody to be able to see your eyes behind the mask. So the Tuscan has mesh. And you can see okay in that. My TIE Pilot is the glass is green. So you not only can you only see directly in front of you, it's also everything's green. So they're not easy to see out of, for sure.
That's why I found that impressive. I was like, how do you find the button to hit record?
Whenever I'm because there's times when if we're going to I've had kids ask me for an autograph before. So you literally, it's almost just like when you're like when Mickey Mouse goes to sign something, they had to bring it up right here. It's the same thing in the 501st masks. You have to put it right in front of you or you can't see it.
That was that kind of interaction just adds to the fun. I mean, that's what the park was supposed to be, and we actually felt like we were part of what they said, living an adventure. For the first time, that's what it felt like to me there, because they actually made a comment to me, something about there's no chance for you or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, and I said, well, there's always hope, and he goes, negative. So so it was a lot of fun. But one thing I have to say, one concern that I have about their Galaxy's Edge, I don't know if you can fill in how it was when you went in Florida, but theirs kind of empties out after a certain hour of night. I mean, the rides are still busy, but the area that's usually packed with people during the day suddenly disperses. Like people stop going there. That's why we found it easier to do the bounty hunter game at night, because A, there wasn't any crowds, and second, it was cool enough and dark enough so you could see the
thing light
the
up.
watch light up for you.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, it just, I'm getting concerned, especially since the most excitement that was there for other people was when the Mandalorian and Grogu showed up. I mean, there was this one lady who came barreling with her baby. I would have sworn she would have thrown that baby aside just to go see baby Grogu. She went running through the hallway, and you saw all the excitement that would suddenly perk up when the Mandalorian or Boba Fett was there. Not that they didn't do the same thing for Rey and Chewbacca, but I did see this great interest in that. And I'm wondering if they're going to eventually look at that and retheme that entire section on the West Coast, or what, especially with in light of the news, which I don't know if you're going to cover this week, but in light of the news of what's happening in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like theirs kind of thins out, which is weird.
I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge at nighttime yet, so I can't confirm nor deny that. I've only been in morning and in afternoon. I haven't been there at night, so I'm not sure about that. Now, is Boba Fett? He's Book of Boba Fett with the black underneath, not the gray jumpsuit from Empire Strikes Back.
Exactly. And what we found interesting too, and I know you were going to hit on this regarding other merchandise, but they didn't seem to have as much of a variety of merchandise as Florida does, and that goes for the entire park, not even just for Galaxy's Edge. We found that the gift shops were not, you know how in Florida you come off the ride and there's the gift shop.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't find that yet.
Yeah, in California they don't have gift shops when you come off the ride. You have to go hunting for the gift shop. And so that means that the gift shops sort of share what they're supposed to be for and wind up being an amalgamation of nothing in the end.
And one other thing that we wanted to comment on, even though we maybe we shouldn't, but we did notice that even though the people that went there to the park were very nice and friendly, usually. Everybody was pretty polite, and everybody seemed to be having a good time despite waits or whatever. Everybody seemed to be very low key.
Yeah, it was weird.
The employees, which I understand that there were layoffs recently and there's bad vibes going on. The employees sometimes were not exactly
magical.
Not magical, exactly. Not at all times. Especially like in Galaxy's Edge, I literally heard employees talking about their managers at Galaxy's Edge. I heard them talking about wedding plans. I heard them like just being totally casual about what they're doing rather than pretending that you're in the moment of being somewhere else.
Of course, on the other hand, when we were on Rise of the Resistance, the guy who got us out of the room, with the whole they cut through the wall and moved the door aside. Yeah, that guy was awesome. He was so awesome. He was such a good actor.
It's nice when you get lucky and have one of those.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of newer rides that I didn't get to experience, Dewey, I don't remember if you said that you got to do this one when you went to MGM Studios, but I didn't. It just opened over there. Mickey's Runaway Railroad just opened in Toontown at Disneyland, and thankfully we were at the Toontown gate when that opened, and we were able to get in there and finally got to see something new for a change. I think that was our first ride, wasn't it?
No, our first ride was Star Tours.
Was it Star Tours? So I guess it was one of the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not been on that yet. When I only spent the morning in the studios, and I just went to the studio that one day, and it was the only reason I went was to go on Rise of the Resistance. So I thought I might jump on Mickey and Minnie if it wasn't too bad, but it was like an hour and a half, like 90 minutes or 95 minutes or something. So I was like, nope, I'll get that next time. Wasn't that big a deal.
All right. So we were talking about the rides that are somewhat similar, like Rise and things like that. We also there's one other ride that was new, that's exclusive to Disneyland. That's Roger Rabbit. That was a lot of fun. That was it's a bumpy, jumpy thing, but it was a lot of fun. And speaking of bumpy, jumpy things, there's the alternate version of Pooh, which we were there for.
Oh, Winnie the Pooh?
Winnie the Pooh, yeah. Jen found that she liked some of the versions that we're used to in Florida better than the ones out there, like
well, Winnie the Pooh for one.
Winnie the Pooh, right? There was another Haunted Mansion, was it?
No.
It was fun to do the Haunted Mansion, see the original.
Oh, Small World, because for some reason the dolls don't talk.
The dolls don't sing
in this one, and it was very disturbing.
You hear them singing, but they're not moving.
Their mouths don't move. Very few of them have mouths that move. So their little eyes are blinking, and they're...
Well, they've been doing it for 70 years, so they can't work anymore.
So it's very peculiar. It's a very peculiar thing. I didn't like that.
What was cool that I did like about It's a Small World is that they incorporated some of the Disney characters into the different countries. I thought that was neat. They did it very subtly, so you don't always it's not blatant, but it was only blatant in my opinion when you pass by Cinderella and they start playing her music as you pass by and incorporate it into Snow. Little Mermaid, I liked better here.
Yeah, Little Mermaid, somehow it seemed more lively and all around you.
They don't have the grotto. You just kind of go through like an old-fashioned dark ride thing where you sit on it, and there's cartoons on the wall, and then
and Scuttles in the first
there.
scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rather than being in the queue area, he's in the first scene doing his thing.
But it's basically the same ride as in
it's basically
New
the same.
or New Fantasyland.
But somehow it felt more lively and immersive. I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
In fact, we went on it twice. We liked it so much.
Yeah. And speaking of twice, we did Ron's favorite, the Tikki Room, which is the original version of the Tikki Room, which it's dated, obviously, because it was meant for the entertaining.
Hey, don't insult my birdies.
I know, but entertaining people from a different era. However, I think it should remain the way it is. I don't think it's one of those that really needs to be changed because it's the way that Walt kind of saw it. So I don't know. They'll probably update it someday, but I thought it was very cute.
Don't say that.
You don't know, but. And Jungle Cruise, we like our Jungle Cruise on Florida better.
I was surprised about that because I thought I liked the California one better, but I don't. I like ours better. We have more scenes in ours. And I don't know if it's just because they lost part of their river with Indy. Because they did. They part of the Jungle Cruise got rerouted when they put Indiana Jones in. But I've never seen it prior to Indiana Jones. So I don't know why I thought I liked California better, but I don't. I like Florida better because that whole temple where you go through the temple and there's the tiger and the monkeys, they don't have that in California.
Okay.
And it really, I think, takes away from the ride not having that whole scene when you're used to it.
But the skippers were good. They made it entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And skipping over to the other park, really quickly, the Spider-Man thing. What was it?
Oh, the Webslingers.
Webslingers. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, that was the best game sort of ride ever. Because unlike Buzz, where you can't tell where you're aiming, you could actually tell where you were aiming with this one. And so it was really good. And Toy Story Midway Mania, each game is so short that by the time you figure out what you're supposed to do, it's like, whoop, and take you to the next one. So this one, it was just the whole ride was consistently, you just did the same thing. So it was really fun and you could actually score points and stuff. So that was good. It was really.
But I'm very curious when you see the footage, you might have the same question. There's a whole show building that's there that looks like it should house something other than just this. And all they do is do a little kind of corny little fight thing with the Avengers up on top. I mean, you get to see
the Quinjet building.
Some of the characters there do their thing, but there's got to be something that they were planning that they were going to put in there that they ran out of budget for and never did.
Yeah, the Quinjet
ride.
Ride.
There's supposed to be that e-ticket Marvel ride that is on again, off again kind of thing. I don't know what the status is currently, but it's been on and off for a couple of years now.
Again, the one thing about the Spider, you've been to Universal, right, Dewey?
Yes.
The Spider-Man ride kind of felt like a Universal ride to me for some reason. I don't exactly know why, but it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot, but just felt it had that Universal vibe to it.
Well, Universal does a lot of those. Your ride vehicle moves from scene to scene, but your scene basically every time you go to a scene, it's a new screen and projections and stuff, 3D or whatever. So that's Universal relies heavily on that for a lot of their attractions, and I guess it's cheaper than animatronics or whatever because Disney's kind of been leaning towards that in recent years also. And
speaking of that, though, they've perfected this technology to the effect that you think that the person in front of you is actually either there or looking at you. There's one scene where Peter Parker comes out, and we were standing. The first time we went on it, we were to this corner, and I'm thinking to myself, "Why is he staring at me? How is he able to do that?" Right? And then the next time that we went on, I was back here, and I'm like, how is he still staring at me? So I don't know how they did that. That was pretty neat. But that seemed like he was really there. When he turns into Spider-Man, for some reason, it looks fake. But when he's Peter Parker and doing his little clumsy thing, that was fun. That was kind of cute. But anyway, we are hoping to put these videos together as little short things that we'll put on our YouTube channel. Look for us at WDW Reflections Podcast. It'll probably be called WDW Reflections Goes to Disneyland. And you'll get to see clips from the rides and clips from our experience and clips from the park, and see what it was what we did. Just give me some time to put all that together. It'll probably be over the next couple of weeks. So there'll be enough content going on for a while, but just wanted to share those parts of our experience with you. And I hope you've enjoyed hearing what it was like to go to Disneyland.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I'm super jealous because I still haven't made it to Disneyland ever. I've been to Disney World 49 times now.
Wow.
49 and counting. I know I'm an idiot. And I've been to Disneyland Paris once. So my bucket list, like probably the biggest thing that's that I want to accomplish before I die is to go to every Disney park on the planet. So I haven't even been to the one in California yet, so I'm not doing very good. But hopefully within the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to hit Disneyland, I hope. And maybe once I retire, got about another 10 years or so, 10 or 12 before I retire. And that'll be my plan, is to hit Disney parks all around the world. So I'm living vicariously through y'all right now.
Cool.
Disneyland.
When you said that, you just made me think. I mentioned earlier that the last time we were there was almost 20 years ago. They were preparing at that time for the 50th anniversary of Disneyland, and at that point, they had covered the entire castle with a scrim. So it was kind of a unique juxtaposition this time around, because that last time we were there, the castle was in a scrim and we were smiling. Now this time when we went, we were wearing our masks and the castle was exposed. We took them off for pictures, but I just happened to notice that. I'm like, hey, look, we can see the castle, now I can't see us. But anyway, my point in saying that is, obviously in 2 more years, Disneyland will be 70 years old. So
wow,
I'm sure something big is probably going to be planned.
Absolutely. Well, Disney never backs down from an opportunity to have a celebration, so you can sell you a new shirt or something. All right, that's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing some Disneyland adventures. I'm really glad you guys were able to get out and do something. I know it's been a long few years, so I definitely can identify with that as well. So I'm glad you guys were able to go and came back with only a couple of colds, so that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.